Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soul Therapy. My name is Kristen, and today I have a special guest for you. My guest today is an author and motivational speaker, Don Hose. Don holds workshops throughout the US where he shares his knowledge about meditation and personal development, specifically healthy relationships and communication. Right now, Don is in the process of writing a book titled Back to Genesis. He's also working on another book in effective communication and healthy relationships, which goes right along with the workshops that he offers online. But you can also get in touch with him on Facebook at Don Hose, where you can potentially have conversation with him, ask him questions, or even get some help from him. Hi, Don. How are you?
Hi, how are you? I'm fine.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm really
Okay.
excited to have this conversation and let's get started. Okay, so let's start at my favorite place in your journey when you were a young child. What happened to you that created this flicker of light inside of you that has gone down the path that you've gone down?
Well, I think when I was about 12, I had my church used to have a book table, and there was a card on that book table, and it was a picture of a statue of Christ. So it looked more statuesque than human, but it was definitely Christ. And the eyes were so big and beautiful, just like you didn't want to take your eyes off of it. So I looked down at the very bottom of this card, and it had fine prints. It was so small. It's like most people probably never read the small print, like we don't read the fine print in contracts today. And it said, if you meditate on me for 5 minutes a day, your life will change. And that just totally fascinated me.
Did you know what meditation was?
No, I had to go home and look it up.
Mm-hmm.
So I got the Webster's dictionary, and it said deep thinking. And I'm like, no, that's not
for
it.
Me.
No, there's something deeper than that this is talking about. I don't know what that is. So I went to the library, and I found in the entire library, this is back in 1972, they only had 2 books that even had the word meditation in there somewhere. So I took one of them out. It said Om. And I got home, and I'm looking through this book. It had all this hatha yoga. This guy's in there from India, I suppose, and he's putting his legs behind his head and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, how in the world is this going to get me to God? This is not what I'm looking for. And in the very back, he's meditating. So it only has 1 page on meditation. He's in one picture, he's sitting up with his legs crossed, and another one he's laying down. He said you can meditate laying down on your back, or you can meditate sitting in this position. And he said the problem with meditating if you lay down is that you'll fall asleep. And I'm like, I don't want to fall asleep. So in the beginning, I used to do both. I used to do it on my back, and every time I did it on my back in the beginning, I fall asleep. So I got used to sitting in a chair instead of the lotus position. I could never do half lotus, let alone full lotus. And sit in a chair. I timed myself the very first time. It was 7 minutes. And then that went on. The next thing I know, it was 15 minutes, 20 minutes. And after several months, things began to happen. I began to see light and flashes of flickers of light, like lightning. And then, which eventually led to a blue sky, which I thought was the grandest thing of all. And it went from there.
Well, that's curious because I have a 14-year-old child, as you know, and I can't imagine he could care less about this topic. And I actually raised him in these thoughts and ideas and to keep his mind open. But at 12, 13 years old, the last thing on his mind was getting to God. And I heard you use that word. How am I going to get to God? So it intrigues me to wonder why you were thinking those things at that age, why that was even something to you.
Well, I think what happens, we're all at a different point in our journey. And I do think every soul here is trying to go home. I think we were all born from Source or the Creator as soul. And that's what we are. We don't have a soul, we are a soul. Mm-hmm. And we've acquired these different bodies as time has gone on. There's most of the Eastern teachings will tell you have a causal body, that you use that body to travel and get around on the causal plane or realm. Plane used to be my favorite word, and now realm is. Everything is about the different realms. Mm-hmm. You have an astral body, which most people into the near-death experiences, they're familiar with that term. They know about the astral realm. If the people have been meditating, or they've been in near-death experience groups or out-of-body groups, ions gets together. Most of these people are of a higher vibration or consciousness. They know about the astral plane. Right. What they may not know about is the causal realm, which is the third realm. And then, of course, we all know about the physical realm, the earth realm, I call it, because we all live on it. And we understand that everything here is about four main elements, which would be earth, water, fire or heat, and air. The fifth element is ethereal, is ether. Not the ether, the gas that we breathe to knock us out. They just call it an ethereal realm, which is not astral, but it's not physical either. And the best example of that is when you hear a near-death experience person tell you, oh, I was on the ceiling looking down at my body. I could hear the doctors, and my mom was crying, and I saw my son looking at me, and I could hear what they were saying, and I could hear everything. I saw the doctor drop this pen on the floor. So when they come back, they tell everybody that, and everybody's in shock. Well, they weren't in the astral plane. They just made it to the ceiling. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they made it to across town, and maybe they even made it to the moon. Mm-hmm. But that's our physical moon. So they haven't gone to the astral world. They've just gone into an ethereal realm where we call spirits and ghosts and entities. All of those guys hang out in this ethereal realm. It's the in-between. And what I've learned is the near-death experiences happen in this in-between realm. I call the ethereal.
Yeah, I talk to a lot of people who have had near-death experiences. Is something that has intrigued me since my mother passed away. And it seems that a lot of people stay in this ethereal realm for a short period of time, what may seem like no time at all. But there are a select few that actually see what they describe as a pinpoint of light and a desire to move forward towards that light, or a calling from that light, or a magnetic pull. And that when they reach that, it's almost as if it is a passageway. And this is not the way that they individually describe it, but if I take everybody's stuff together, it all sounds like there is an energetic passageway or gateway between. When you're saying this to me, I see it's like two different realms. So it's like, here's your passageway to the next realm. Is this something you identify with?
Yes, at some point, people, it is a journey. And though everybody's experience is unique, there are some signs along the way that are the same for everyone that gets that far. Mm-hmm. For example, I live in Baltimore. I was born in Cumberland, and I've gotten very familiar with the trip to Cumberland and back. Now, if you put 50 people on a bus, and we all journey from Baltimore to Cumberland, we're all going to pass through, if you take Route 68 or 70, which is the direct route, everybody's going to pass through Frederick, Maryland. Everybody's going to pass through Hagerstown. There's a little town called Hancock. That's part of the journey. There's a little teeny one called Flintstone. The bus has to go through Flintstone. And then you're going to arrive in Cumberland. Now, on that bus, you got 50 people. Some are going to be looking to the right. Some are going to be looking to the left. Some might be asleep. They have their eyes closed. They miss certain things. So everybody's not going to see the deer or this thing or that thing. So that means that each journey is going to be unique. But at the same time, we're all going to go through what? Frederick, Hagerstown, Hancock, and a little town called Flintstone. You have to go through those. So when we're ascending through these realms, there are some signposts that are the same for everyone. And to enter the astral realm, which is completely different from this, in the ethereal realm, everything looks like we see in dreams, or you may see light, you may see some beautiful blue sky and the clouds, and you see this tremendous light. But trust me, once we enter the astral realm, it's more of a radiant light. Everything is radiant. It's a different kind of experience. And so when I listen to people, see, most people, when they have either an NDE or an out-of-body experience, as soon as they get out of the body, they think they're in the astral realm. And so what I'm sharing with you is that most people never get to the astral realm. They get to the ethereal realm. You have to be a very powerful soul. Maybe you've done this for 2 or 3 lifetimes before to get automatic entrance into the astral realm, which is everything is a different kind. It's just a totally different kind of radiant light. And the sound is there's sound there that's very different. And in fact, there are some things that must happen for a person. They must cross over certain signposts, like I was just explaining to you earlier.
I love that
for example,
yeah.
there's been many writings from even Prophet Muhammad and other teachers that they crossed the moon. They went to a moon and they went through this moon, and then they came out on the other side of the moon, and the journey continues. So there's just certain things that a soul goes through and experiences to have entrance into this astral realm. Many people go through a tunnel, but a lot of people don't go through the tunnel. And they don't understand that it's because if you didn't see the tunnel, it doesn't mean the tunnel is not there. You know, at nighttime, I don't see the sun, but it doesn't mean it's not there. And and in the daytime, I may not see the moon. That doesn't mean the moon's not there. It means I didn't see it.
Right.
So there's certain things that people experience. And if they don't get to the tunnel, it doesn't mean the tunnel's not there. It means that they just didn't get that far in the journey.
Is it possible though, because, working with your analogy where you were saying that everybody's on the bus and some people may be looking to the left, some people may be looking to the right. Is it possible that during this, what seems to be pretty sensory overwhelming experience, that you do pass through certain things that you don't realize or notice? Or is it so, is your senses so alive that you experience everything that happens?
Well, here's the deal. When you or I leave our bodies, we're not with 49 other people. Right. We're only on our own journey. So that analogy applies to the different signposts along the way. Okay. Your journey and mine are going to be unique to us. And so at some point, we each have to go through certain things that will be similar and certain things that won't be. Right. But if we haven't experienced those similar signposts along the way, then we haven't gotten there yet. Right.
I get
that.
You
see, it doesn't help us to have an experience and not be conscious that we had the experience. Right. We're trying to expand our consciousness. So in order to do that, we have to be consciously aware of what we're doing. So if a person did go through the moon, but they didn't see it, then they have no conscious awareness that they had the experience. Right. So I'm talking about actually having conscious awareness of these experiences on the journey. Now, in the East, they write about this journey very much from different gurus or saints or mystics. They all talk about the same, if you read the Quran, it has names for some of the same things that the Hindus have that maybe ancient Christianity talked about, but they just use different words in different language.
Right.
For example, in Christianity, they talk about three heavens. I've looked in the prayer books before, and they talk about three heavens. They even mention astral in Christian prayer book. So you have physical, astral, and causal. That's the three heavens. You have an earth realm heaven. You have, when we get into that ethereal, where there's the clouds and the different light beings, and maybe you see angels, and some people claim to see Jesus or Christ-like being, and all these beautiful things. That's for they're in heaven. Then you have the astral world, the upper astral realms. There's beautiful heavens there. And then you go to the third realm, the beautiful heavens there. It gets more beautiful as we ascend, because what happens as we ascend, we lose matter.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, the earth realm is the most dense. So because of that, we have the least amount of consciousness here.
Mm-hmm.
When you get into the astral world, we're more conscious and less dense. You get into the causal realm, there's even more consciousness and less matter. So matter exists in the higher realms, it's just not physical matter.
Right.
We see this when we dream, and dreaming is a beautiful example of a lot of things. When you dream, you might see a car, you might see people, you might see the earth and the beach, but it's not physical.
Right.
So you see, actually, I call it pictorial thought.
I'm so glad you brought this back up, because I really would like to go back to this dream idea of the ethereal realm, mm-hmm. and that this is the place that we visit when we dream. Now, I love dreaming. I love the information I receive in my dreams, and I like to spend a lot of time reflecting on that. But I have sometimes these dreams that are unlike dreams. They're more
ethereal.
Yeah, it's like I'm in a different place. I'm mm-hmm. able to do things that I can't do in the physical body. I have people that I know, that I visit with, that I interact with, that I can right. feel relationships with that I don't know in the physical. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, I can fly. One of the things that I normally do is I like to jump up and sit on the top of the trees. And it's something that I do all the time. I love doing it. And so can you explain this to me? Because it's not like a normal dream where I'm fighting my subconscious demons and sorting things out. It's more of a place that I go and I interact.
Right. Well, I've learned that people that have those kind of dreams are simply more evolved, and they're of a higher vibration or consciousness, like you talk about, but they haven't been able to translate that into a higher consciousness, so that they're having ethereal flight rather than dream flight, and that they're having astral flight, which would be even higher. So the dream flight is the beginning. It's just the beginning. It's just to give you a taste that there's something greater than yourself, that there's something more to this living this earthly life that we should be doing. There's something more to it. And the other thing you want to note, this is the most important thing. Dreams happen when we are in a semi-conscious state. That's the thing. See, they're in the REM state, rapid eye movement, where we're semi-conscious. So we're not even fully conscious when we're having dreams. Now, when you have a vision, or a person has an NDE or an OBE, they're not in that state. They're in a higher than just physical conscious state. Some people might call that a semi-super conscious state of consciousness that they're in. It doesn't last long because they all come back. But for a brief time, they get into this ethereal realm. The vibration is quicker, it's higher. In the NDE, they've had usually some kind of trauma to get them there. this is almost related to what you talked about earlier about people being in pain, and then there has to be an oppressor to give them that pain so that they're relieved. So I call the NDEs, they're involuntary. The person has no control over when they happen. They don't even know that they're going to happen. Like, I fell through the ice on a pond, and I was very young then, and that was one of my NDEs, probably my first one. And all of a sudden, instead of feeling this ice cold water, fortunately I could swim, and it was a very shallow pond, but the cold was shocking to the body and to my brain. Now here I am, just probably like 11 years old when this happened. Now I don't know what happened, but instead of feeling all this tremendous cold, I felt an incredible warmth, this kind of fuzzy, really warm feeling. And then all of a sudden I'm seeing this brilliant light, pinkish white light that turned into like a bluish white light. And I'm just enjoying this. And so here I am. It's almost like I was taking a bath in this radiant bluish white light. So I didn't experience any, globes or orbs or trees or anything. This was my first time. This was white, beautiful, warm, fuzzy, bluish white light. It was so loving, so peaceful. Now, what I don't remember is how I got from that water to on the side of the pond.
Were you alone?
So you always wondered did God save me? Did someone pick me up? How did I get from there in this ice cold water, having this fuzzy warm feeling, and now all of a sudden I'm up on the side somewhere? So when I came out of that experience that I was having, I see myself on the ground, and I'm freezing again, cold. But obviously there was some experience there. Now, the cold water in the fall triggered my NDE. When people refer to NDE, sometimes half of their story is about the trauma, the drowning, the fire. I was in a car accident. I had a heart attack. To me, the near-death experience is when you leave your body. So I'm always curious to want to know more about what did you experience when you were out of your body? The out-of-body experience, the OBE, is voluntary. Usually these are people that meditate and they have a desire to leave their bodies because they understand that the journey to me getting back home to my source or back to Creator or back to God, I have to get out of this physical world. That's just common sense. So a lot of them meditate. They meditate or they do some practice to help them have these out-of-body experiences.
Now you've had a few of those, haven't you?
Many more OBEs than NDEs.
Right.
Because remember, I started meditating after that card experience. So that was about 13 years old when I started meditating. And then I would say by 16, I started having some very powerful, not just the going to the light and the this and that, beyond that, and I can go into any of those. Yes. But I did want to finish that. Sure. The dream state is an unconscious state. That's the key to that. So it's just giving you a taste that there is more to life than just a waking state of and going to work every day and having kids and cooking and eating and doing all the mundane stuff that we do here. And then when you start jumping into trees and stuff in your dreams, it's telling you something that, hey, I'm a very powerful being.
That's how I feel. I feel that.
Yeah. So now let's take it to the next level though. Let's make this semi-conscious state, make it into my waking, into my super consciousness. So now if you're bending the spoon, maybe you're doing it for real and you're not just dreaming it.
Well, I mean, when you were talking, you really hit a chord with me because, as you know, my mother passed away about 11 years ago. And when that happened, I went to a much different place than everybody else experiencing this went to. But in my dream states, she would literally, I mean, it was so real. She would come to me and she would talk to me and she would tell me, you know, everything's okay and all this. But in my awakened state, I remember I was at a diner with all my cousins and we were just kind of not celebrating, but just being together, right? And here I'm walking through the diner and all of a sudden I see another realm superimposed on to the one that is in front of me. And in this realm, I can see other people that are not there, walking around and being a part of this same space, occupying the same space, but nobody else could see them.
Sure.
And it was like maybe 3 to 5 seconds long, or so I really did have enough time to like go through it, but it was such a shock to my system that I was starting to see things that nobody else could see, and it's never stopped. I can already, that happens to me a lot now. So what do you think? Is that a dream state or?
No, that's, you're having a partial out of body experience at the same time that you're awake, and that can happen. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Because one this realm you're seeing with your 2 physical eyes, and so temporarily your third eye is opening even while you're awake. Everybody, you don't always have to meditate to have the third eye open. You could be driving the car and your third eye opens. So now you're seeing 2 different realms.
That's scary when you're driving.
Yeah, but you the more you have, this is what some people hear this, and I'm not sure that they like it, but I do believe the more experience you have of doing something, the better you get at it.
Oh yeah.
So don't get upset if I say I've had 100 out-of-body experiences and 4 or 5 near-death experiences, and you only had 1. I do think the people that have done this more times, they've had more experience at it. So go back to our bus analogy. If you and I are on that bus and we go to Cumberland just 1 time, then you've only had the experience of doing it once. But if we do it 3 or 4 times, you gain more experience, maybe even a little more knowledge. You certainly learn to navigate yourself through it better.
Right.
Now, let's say we've taken that bus trip 100 times or 500 times. You've gotten so good at it, you don't even have to pay attention to certain things anymore. You could probably go blindfolded and still do it. So this is what makes athletes and some people that are into certain aspects of business so this is what, you know, my grandmother was a school teacher for 40 years. And she said, Don, the key is repetition. The more you do something, the more you learn.
Right.
So that applies to spirituality. It applies to meditation.
Right.
It applies to traversing into ethereal realms and you know, the astral realms. I have one friend, or maybe more than one, they're satisfied with their 1 near-death experience, and they'll write a book and write forever on that one experience, what it's taught them. And then I say, well, if it was so nice, if it was not that you were in a drowning, not that you were in a car accident or a fire, but if your experience of being on the other side was so peaceful, so loving. You hear him describe it all the time. I've never felt a peace like that before in my life. I never felt that kind of love before. Was so much compassion. I was fearless. And I'm like, wouldn't you like to have that again? Okay, so you said, what drove me? Whatever experiences I was having, I always wanted more. Yeah. I couldn't wait to learn how to go. I said, man, if that was an ethereal or astral experience, and they're telling me I can learn how to do that on my own willpower, why don't I learn to do it?
Right. Okay. Now I see that.
Now
I was going to ask you, like, do you think that people who have had these experiences should, or it would be a good thing for them to do is go back and learn how to meditate and connect with that space again?
That's why we're here. That's one of our major spiritual purposes for being here, is to learn the process of going home. Now, real quick, if you go to the Christian Bible, St. Paul said, I die daily. That's what he was talking about.
Wow.
He wasn't talking about, oh, killing the ego, or he's trying to tell us that he was meditating on a daily and regular basis, that he learned how to leave his body, and he could do it every day, every morning, every night when he could do that. So, and then he said, learn to die so that you may begin to live. Okay, so we want to become dead to this world so we can live in the beyond. Now, the fear that some people have is that, okay, well, if I do that, I'm gone and I'll never come back. Well, that's ridiculous. It's nonsense. There are too many people, Yogananda, Paramhansa Yogananda, Madame Blavatsky from the Theosophical Society, all have written about their, even Mark Twain used to repeat his own, he'd sit in a chair and repeat his own name so he would go into this higher state of consciousness and have experience. There's too many people that have written about this, and they're trying to tell us, Yogananda talks about the physical, the astral, and his causal. He goes into the third realm experience. And his teacher, Sri Yukteswar, used to go into the third realm or fourth realm, and they've written about this. So, there's just too much written about this in the East, especially in Eastern philosophy. And from mystics, we've had Christian mystics, Jewish mystics, and saints of all different varieties. Geronimo, we have Native American Indians. Geronimo talks about, writes about visions and seeing things.
A lot of shamans go there. Yeah.
Yeah. So my thing is, if somebody else is doing what I want, why don't I find out from them how to do this thing so I can have these same experiences? When I was very young, Raymond Moody's book, Life After Life, came out, I believe, in about 1974. And I'm thinking, wow, all these people having these near-death experiences, once they understand this, they're going to have more experiences. They're going to want more light. They're going to want to ascend into these higher realms. And if they see it as the journey way of the soul back to home, a lot of people word it that way. If you read the NDE'ers experience, they say, oh, I want to go home. It was so beautiful. I've never experienced any peace like, well, if you had such great peace and love and compassion, why don't you want to do that some more? Why don't you want to have it more? There are not many, but there are a handful that don't get stuck in where they are. And they want more. And they want to talk about this ascension process, and they want to return home. The beautiful thing is that you can do this while you're living your life here on earth. You can do them simultaneously. It's not that you have to wait till your kids graduate and get married. You don't have to wait. There's no such thing as waiting. My thing is, do it now. Learn how to do this if you're interested. Everybody's not going to be interested. The mind is a trickster. And what happens is the mind is so used to habit that it talks a lot of people out of this.
Oh, yeah.
So they never get to have the beautiful experience that I'm talking about. So my thing is, learn how the process works, learn more about it. The autobiography of a yogi for the more advanced souls is a beautiful book. And he teaches and talks a lot about what we're talking about and gets people going into this ascension process so they can learn. You got to have help, but that's a whole different ball game. I'm just saying it's available for everyone that wants it.
Well, speaking of help, I know that you hold workshops. What is it like to be at one of your workshops? What is the message that you're giving? What are you showing people your knowledge about? And what can they expect to come away with from that?
Well, what most people come away with, they get aids and tools and resources on how to become a better human being. The very thing that we're talking about. One workshop might be on relationship. I might have another one on healthy communication. I might have one that talks a lot about more on karma, because we just don't have physical action and reaction karma. We have, again, emotional karma, and there's mental karma. So there are things that we can do here to help ourselves. We can, counseling helps people. Your form of therapy helps people. Therapy in itself is a good thing. The 12-step program is good for people. The 12-step program, if you look at it, it came out of the light. When Dr. Bob describes, he says he got the steps out of the light. That's incredible.
I didn't know that.
Did he have some kind of out of body or experience or something, and he received this intuitively out of the light? Because to me, the light is God. The light is love. That's all the light is. It's the positive. We have two forces working on all universes, light and dark. So, in the Native American tradition, they say you have two wolves, and it's up to you which one you feed.
I like that.
So, I choose to feed the light.
Right.
And the light is the bread of life. So the more I bathe in the light that people are describing in these near-death experiences and these out-of-body experiences and these ethereal experiences, the more contact, the more conscious contact I have with that light, then I'm feeding the soul the bread of life.
Right.
Okay, so I have no choice but to head in the direction that I'm feeding myself. Now, if I choose to feed myself with hatred, with chaos and violence, then that's the direction that I'm going to be pulled to go in. A lot of people called me, talked to me, wrote to me, and said the workshops have helped me with the spiritual aspects that you're talking about. Right. Because I believe and understand that my character can affect my ability to meditate.
Can you explain that differently?
Yes, I mean that if I'm carrying around with me a lot of anger,
right?
If I have a lot of unresolved issues from my childhood or my young adult life, or that I'm not even aware of from my past life or lives, and I have not resolved this energy, that it's going to impede my ability to ascend. Yeah. So the more I clean my slate of not just physical, but emotional and mental energies, it makes my ascension process easier. We have even though we don't have physical food on the higher realms, we still have to eat healthy food. So here, smoking has an effect on us. We all know that, whether we want to, I'm not attacking anyone. I love everyone. What I'm saying is, there's too much science behind this. If I read it, there's arsenic in a cigarette, and now there are hundreds and hundreds of carcinogens to make one. What is my need for that? What is my personal need for alcohol? So what I'm sharing is that drugs and alcohol and even poor diet, not only do they affect the physical body, but they have an effect on our ethereal or astral body, and we have a causal body. These things emotionally and have an emotional counterpart, and they have a mental counterpart. So it's just not cleaning house on the physical realm. We have to clean house on an emotional realm and on our causal realm. The astral body is really our emotional body. So in my workshops, I talk about the emotional body. I don't use the term astral except to tell people it's the same thing. Eckhart Tolle uses the term pain body, because you have to have feelings to have pain. If you don't have any feelings, you're not going to feel any pain. So our mental body is our body of thought. It's the thought form. So I'm just saying, when in our workshops, we get into trying to deal with this on all different levels, not just on the physical.
No, that's, I love that you mentioned counseling, because it's something that's so important to me. It's very personal to me, obviously. It's the career I've chosen for myself. And that is introducing people to their subconscious behaviors and thoughts so they can understand better how to move in the direction of their heart's desire. And if someone wanted to go deeper than therapy, if maybe they've already experienced the therapy and they've reached a level of self-connection where they are really in communication with their, what I like to call higher self, but it could also be synonymous with your subconscious, and they're looking for something more, how do they, first of all, do you offer education or instruction or guidance in meditation, in the kind of meditation that you've become accustomed to, that you're talking about here?
Well, I usually try to end every workshop with meditation, because meditation is the key to this whole thing. It's not really complicated. Meditation to me is a matter of stillness. And most people are familiar with the single eye, the mystic eye, the eye of Shiva, or they call it the Shiv Netra, same thing. They know that that's the Ajnu chakra, sixth chakra. In the Bible, it's referred to as the single eye. In Hinduism, Buddhism, they all have different references for the same thing. But it's commonly for mystics and people that are into spirituality, the third eye. Everybody knows it is the third eye. So we simply put our attention here and we sit still, what we call still quietude. You want to be quiet and you want to be still. The whole objective is to slow the thoughts, slow down your emotional energies, and just learn how to be still. And this takes practice. This takes time. It's not going to happen for everybody overnight. And so most people want a quick fix. They want instant gratification. They want it done right now. And if they don't get it right now, what happens is they quit.
Right.
Okay. And we know that quitters never win and winners never quit. So we want to be winners so that we're winning all the time. So we usually have a brief meditation based on just what I said to you. Okay, let's just get it from a simple standpoint. Let's just sit still for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you can do. And you want to put your attention here with your eyes closed and learn how to make peace with yourself, learn how to relax, learn how to enhance your calm, I call it.
I like that.
And so we usually will do that for a good 10 minutes, 15 or more. When they have me come down to the Bagua Center in Miami, the facilitator of that place, she's big on meditation, and she wants me to do anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes of meditation.
Well, that's exactly what I was referring to. Yeah.
She's like, you know what, Don, the workshops are great and we need them and we want to do that. But I want you to, let's meditate. Let's do some real meditation. It's not going to do that, 10-minute stuff. We want some real meditation. So I oblige her when we go there and we try to do more.
That would be nice, especially if you have Zoom at your disposal, a lot of people, I think, overcomplicate meditation. And it was when I decided to stop overcomplicating it and just be still. I didn't learn the focusing on the third eye until I met you. But prior to that, I focused on being still and just trying to focus my attention on the present moment, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
And what I noticed, at first I'd start at 3 minutes, and then I moved up to 5 minutes, and then I moved up to 7 minutes, like you said. And eventually I was at an hour. And that hour went by in 5 seconds.
So fast.
Goes by so fast.
Yeah.
And the amount of emotional feelings that would just come upon me, it was almost like what they would refer to as like a gamma feeling. Gamma brainwave is where I just feel so much gratitude, and all I'm doing is sitting there, right? And I just have this overwhelming sense of gratitude, and definitely a light that comes in. I never paid attention much to it. I just thought, wow, this is such an amazing feeling, and I would stay there. And I've never gone above that at this point. But the question is more for people who put all that headiness into it. Do you have like a meditation workshop, or would you be willing to develop one for people who just can't get out of their head and need someone to guide them through the process of meditation?
Well, like I said, I think detailed guidance should be left to one who has mastered meditation. Personally, I've learned the advantage of having a spiritual guide or teacher, not just the inner guide, but physical teacher. So I add that to I do recommend it for people, but I'm just going to say it's worked for me to have a spiritual teacher, because I need someone that's been where I'm trying to go.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if I find out that they've been there, done that, then I'm willing to put my ego down and become humble. And I learned a lot from going to India and seeing people in the East. The humility is whatever we have times 10. I just don't see that level of humility here in the United States. I haven't seen it as a general thing. You might have individuals, but not in general population. So you have to have a certain level of humility, and you have to be willing to unlearn everything that you've learned and be willing to take on something new in order to go further. In the East, they really stress importance of having a teacher. So I reserve on that, but I do say, and so I would leave that to the spiritual teachers or mine. Now, I don't have a problem sitting here doing what we just did. And you don't need to sit up and talk for 45 minutes to do a 15-minute meditation. To me, it's real simple. I would simply, now I don't mind answering questions because people might have them, but my whole thing is to have us sit still. Be still and know that I am God is Psalms 46:10. It's telling you, telling you right there, you don't need, that's all you really need. And that blew my mind when I read, be still and know that it didn't say think I'm God. It didn't say maybe I'm God. It said all you have to do is be still and you will know, K-N-O-W, that I am God. So what do I need a 45-minute workshop on that for? So I don't mind Zooming and sitting with people and answering some questions, but it would be the same guidance all the time. Now also, Matthew 6:22, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Come on now. Those two verses that I just shared with you, be still and know that I am God. And if thine eye, Matthew 6:22, if thine eye be single, the third eye, your whole body shall be full of light. What more guidance do I need to have other than answering questions, especially when people are new or they're doing this for the first time? Now, if you want to get deeper and heavier than that, which is the realms beyond, way beyond what I know, then you need a teacher that's been there and done that. So you got to be mindful. So what I did, I went to people that were they were a little bit further ahead, and maybe they had a teacher or whatever. And I said, okay, well, who's your teacher? Let me check your teacher out. Right. That's what I tell people all the time. Don't listen to me. Go see for yourself if this is a teacher that meets your what you're looking for, and if he or she qualifies, for what you want, what your needs are. If that's the case, then you adopt yourself a teacher. We have it. Look, everything we do, we have a teacher. Our parents are our first teachers. When we go to school, you have a kindergarten teacher. If I'm going to become a philosophy major, I have to have someone that knows philosophy to teach me. If I'm going to be a lawyer, I have to go to law school and learn from the professors in that field, or whatever it may be. If I want to become a medical doctor and whatever the field is, I need to go to be taught by someone that's already been there, done that. I don't have to go through and try to fight this all by myself. So I'm just sharing that in every field on this earth realm, we have teachers. So what's wrong with having a spiritual teacher that's going to help take you in your ascension process where you want to go.
It's recommended, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
right. Well, Don, I know a lot of people are going to have a lot of questions, and I wanted to know, how can they get in touch with you if they would like to talk to you directly?
Anybody that wants to contact me, like here on Zoom or Skype, we can make that happen. But the best way to communicate with me now is through Facebook Messenger. Now, I know a lot of people don't use it or like it, but that's where I'm working with people most at this time. It's going to change, but right now, that's the way. I would not recommend emailing me because I get hundreds of emails sometimes in one day. I just can't get to everybody there. But I'm right now. I'm currently working with about 3 people on the very things we've talked about today on Facebook Messenger, and they're ready to go a little deeper. They're ready to go to the next level. They're done where they are. They just need to understand some things and learn more about what we're talking about.
You know, Don, I
Absolutely.
could sit here and talk to you forever. I'd love to invite you back for a second interview if you'd
Okay.
be willing to do that. I'm sure everybody's going to love it.
Absolutely.
Once again, if you want to find Don, you can find him at Facebook at Don Hose, and I'll put the link below for you so you can click on that. And you're going to see a lot more of Don and me having our conversations. I really, really thoroughly enjoy talking to you. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Once again, if you are looking to find Don, you can find him at Facebook at Don Hose. And as always, if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can do so by emailing me at kristen@soultherapytct.com or view my website at www.soultherapytct.com.